Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 20th, 2025 Historic Preservation Commission meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. We are also being broadcast live on Channel 34 Montclair and remotely streamed on the YouTube channel, Montclair's YouTube channel. Roll call, please.
Chair Bennett.
Present.
Vice Chair Graham.
Here.
Mr. Reimnitz is not present. Mr. Rooney.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney is not present. Mr. Giuliano.
Here.
Mr. Pierre is not present. Mr. Mixer.
Here.
Ms. Floyd.
Here.
Mr. Smolin.
Here.
And Ms. Bauer, the Commission Attorney, should be joining us shortly. And then we have one change to the agenda to announce tonight. The application number 2024-12, 16 Pleasant Avenue for Pleasant Way Holdings LLC has been postponed to March 20th, 2025 without the need for further public notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and let the record reflect that Ms. Bauer, our attorney, has just arrived. Hi. Approval of minutes from January 16th. Does anyone have any changes? Does anyone have any changes or addendum?
I did not.
No?
I thought it was well done.
I have a couple. So on page 3, sentence 81, after it says, I think if you could add a sentence, the signs are proposed to be placed on the pilasters between the windows. And then on sentence 97, if you could do a comma, and a comma, as they would change the character of the building. We're talking about the blade signs. And then on page 9, sentence 99, it's written, they said that a blade sign in every other window could be explored. It's just a sign, no blade. Just omit the word blade, because that's just a window sign.
I thought we did.
In the window.
But I thought we also suggested we would look at a blade sign in every other window potentially. But
it can't be a blade sign. A blade sign sticks out from the...
No, I know, and I thought given the 360 Bloomfield Avenue, we would consider...
I do recall that there was conversation about exploring a projecting sign that was smaller in size and placed with less frequency, so maybe every other window instead of every window, like they had proposed.
Okay, so
Okay.
if you could just...
So I'll add blade sign or a window sign in
Or
each.
window
Okay.
sign, yeah. And then page 4, sentence 1, line 118, it says the side walls of the recess entries will be finished with stained or charged knotty cedar to match the adjacent facade, and it will be sealed. Or somehow say it should be sealed. And line 129, just a change of verb, rather than should, will.
Do we want to use shall?
Or shall, yes.
Just one note on the, again, going back to the signage.
Where
On
are
line
you?
101 to 103, the minutes do reference window sign, so I think we do have that covered.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. So with those amended, with those amended sentences, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the minutes as of January 16th?
Make a motion.
Okay, Zena, and second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and I think everybody was here. Okay. Thank you. Then we have a resolution for 2024-18B from 608 Valley Road. This was in our packet. Again, I just asked Zanab to change the verb on Section 8, the brick underneath the storefront. It should be the same, so we'll put
Yeah,
shall.
I'll replace every should with shall.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So other than that, everything is the same as what was in the resolution that was mailed to you. So may I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve?
Okay, great. And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The committee assignment list. We have the committee assignments from 2023. So I think what I'll do is we've been working for these for 2024 as well with the addition of Zena now. So design review with Steve Rooney, John Reimnitz, and Mike Graham. Do you still want to keep those?
Yes.
Okay. Education and outreach is myself, Steve Rooney, and Zena. Strike Mike from that.
Hurts me, but okay.
Landmark nominations are me, Stephen Rooney, and now that we've been talking about the grant, the CLG grant, Zena, you'll be part of that? Okay. Minor applications is myself and John Reimnitz and Nick, right? Does anyone else want to be part? We meet virtually with that.
We meet every 2 Thursdays at 3 p.m.
No? Okay. I mean, because I would take myself off, but that's great.
We meet virtually, sorry,
Virtually,
to clarify.
right. And revisions committee is John Reimnitz, Jerry Sweeney, and myself. Anybody else have any interest in that? No? Okay, so you have the updated list. Thank you. Committee reports. We were very busy this month. The minor applications committee met on January 30th. The 3 applications that we discussed were 2024-26, the Board of Ed, the freestanding sign, that was approved. Application 2025-3 for O Bagel, signage and removal of awning at 560 Bloomfield Avenue, that was resolved, right?
It's still pending.
Okay, so that's pending. Then 2024-39, 608 Valley Road. It was the second floor story restaurant sign and the rear sign. And I believe that's what we just, is that what we just approved on that resolution? Is this
Yeah, so we reviewed it initially on January 30th, and then on February 13th, we got the revision and approved that.
Okay, so that's, all right. They keep coming back to us. So then, as Nab mentioned, February 13th we met. We did the approval, which we have tonight, for the approval of the signs on the second-story restaurant and the rear. And then application 2021-1, Some Days Bakery on 260 Bellevue Avenue, and that was approved, correct? Approved with conditions. And then application 2025-4, Puppies and Tattoos on 116 Bloomfield Avenue, that was approved with conditions. The Design Review Committee, which was John Reimnitz, Mike Graham, Zanab, and myself, met at the Bellevue Theater to provide suggestions for security on the second store, on the first floor staircase that goes up to the second store. Has anything happened since then? You haven't heard anything? Okay. Okay, now we're on to grants. The CLG annual report is due, not March, it's
The deadline has been extended to April 11th, and the annual report is also due March 31st.
right.
Yeah.
I think it's March 28th, actually.
Oh,
Just double
yeah.
check. All right.
All right.
That was it. The annual report is due March 28th.
Okay.
The update on the current grant then.
So our RFP closed on January 17th, and we are in the process of selecting a consultant.
And we'll have that by next meeting?
Depending how long a council takes to get the resolution passed and for the contract to be executed, we're hoping to get it in the next few weeks.
Okay. Can you just let me know about that?
Yeah, of course.
When it goes before the council. The CLG grant submission for 2025, which is Zena, Steve, Rooney, and myself. We met twice, the grants committee. We met on January 28th and February 3rd with the planner, Janice Talley, to decide on the parameters of the area, and we changed it. We have now come to and I want everybody to be aware of this, we've come to the agreement that the area, which is in the south end, will be we're calling them 4 parcels. Well, we've divided them into 4 parcels, but the total number is 247 parcels. The first time we met, it was a crazy number. It was almost 400 parcels, so we had to pare it down because we know that we couldn't get a number for that. So what we're looking at is 174 parcels in the potential district of the South End Residential District, 35 parcels in Elm Street and Elmwood Avenue, which is part of that district, part of that potential district. The South End Business District, which is something we added to, which is not contiguous to this, but we know we can have 2 separate areas, because we did that before. And then the Miller Street Historic District, which has 23 parcels in it, and that has already been designated a state, it's on the state register. So altogether, that's 247 parcels, and I can just maybe send it around this way, or just for everybody to. So while you're looking at that, that grant is due in April 28th, right?
April 11th.
April 11th, okay. I have my dates all mixed up. Okay, April 11th. So we have to work on that now because there's a certain number of narratives that have to be included within the grant. Thank you so much, Zanav. What she did is she has the list of all of the structures that are lot and block. And what this grant will do, it's a historic structures grant, which is a intensive description of not only the structures in that neighborhood, but also a description of the history, the neighborhood, and just the development of that neighborhood. So this is what we've been doing in the past. So does anyone have anything to add? Zena, do you have anything to add?
Actually, no, I'm looking forward to it. I think we've done a lot of due diligence in that area in terms of refining the areas that we think would be most applicable, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. How does everybody else feel about the areas that were selected? Okay.
I'm in agreement. I think
I'm
it was
taking that
thoughtful.
agreement. No discussion then. Okay, that's great.
No, it was thoughtful, considering the size of the original, the original scope.
Uh-huh.
I think it was wise to pare it down the way you did, Chair.
Yeah, we really had to. So, moving forward to education. On January 16th, our own Stephen Smolin gave a presentation upstairs on applying design guidelines and how this commission uses design guidelines in our decisions. And we invited both the planning board and the zoning board, whose membership came. It was the first time that we'd ever had this type of combined meeting, and they were really interested in it. We also opened it up to people from Maplewood. It was a public meeting, and if we do it again, it will be on the website, and the public is certainly welcome to come. And Stephen, thank you so much. It was I think it was a great presentation. I know that you gave the slides and the commentary to Zana. Is that able to go on to our website?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So maybe by next month we'll have that as well. Okay, thanks. So you might be able to see it very soon. Okay, thank you. All right, good. And then on February 8th, SHPO, the State Office of Historic Preservation, they sponsored a 3-hour webinar on historic preservation, which was much different from Stevens, but a number of our commissioners attended that as well. That is something our colleague from Maplewood, who was involved in, it was Maplewood and Montclair in the state, he put together a video, which I sent out to all the commissioners this afternoon. That is also open to the public. So if anybody wants to see that, it has had a lot of good information. Maybe we don't have to make it available on the website, but just has a link to it. Is that?
I believe when I asked them, they said to hold off on sharing outside of the commission until they do their second training for Salem, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And then they were I think they just said to stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because they said share it with whoever you felt would benefit from it, so.
I can check.
Okay, but if anybody that's watching at home would like to see it, please get in touch with Sanav, and she can certainly send you the link. Okay, thank you.
Chair, before we move on, did we want to discuss One Normal Avenue, the Verizon?
Oh, yes, why don't you discuss that, being that I missed?
No problem. Yeah, project number 042105-PR. It was just a design review committee courtesy review of One Normal Avenue, Montclair State. They were adding additional antenna to the rooftop, primarily where there are already existing antennas, and they seem to be small in stature and did not really seem to disrupt any of the building's integrity. So John Reimness and I did not have any additional comments.
Thank you. And I was just notified today that the library and the Montclair History Center have extended an invitation to us again for the Researcher Home in May. So Steve has done it before, and I think what I'll do is I will send back that we will do it, and then as we get closer to the date, maybe next month we could set up who's actually going to help. Okay, it's 2 dates. It's on a Wednesday and then on a Saturday, and they're both different groups. It is a very nice collaborative effort, and the people who are generally interested in finding out more about their home through deeds, through maps, it's a feel-good morning, a couple of hours in the morning. So we'll look for that for next month. Okay. That's the end of committee reports. Now we're on to public comment. Is anyone here like to address the commission? Public comment? No? Okay, public comment is closed. And then we'll go on to old business, which is application 2024-34, 144 Union Street. This is a total demolition of a detached garage. This was deferred from the December meeting. At that time, the applicant's representative walked us through the application and what they intended to do. And we'd given some suggestions, and we had also asked for some additional information, which was, I believe, backup budget estimate and a structural report and a statement of need or hardship. So,
Chair, before we proceed, I have to recuse myself. I was not able to witness the last meeting on this application.
So that's duly noted. Mr. Graham has recused himself, but we have 5 commissioners here, so we do have a quorum. So we will go forward with the discussion. Now, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we are only discussing the demolition here. If the demolition is denied, then the applicant has the right to appeal to the zoning board. If we approve the demolition, then our next order of business will be new business, which will be the referral to the Board of Adjustment. So with that, Ms., could you give us a little rundown of what our attorney last month had synopsized our ordinance, and I think it's important that the commissioners that are going to be, discussing and voting on this understand what it is we're looking at, and by what laws we're beholden to look at this.
So the criteria for total demolition is in the alternative. The first part is if the applicant has chosen to put evidence in the record that preservation of the structure is not warranted under the criteria that I'm going to give you, or that, well, I guess it could be and too, but it's not and for us. In other words, it's in the alternative. And that the preservation would be an undue hardship. And the undue hardship here appears to be, there doesn't seem to be a case directly on point. I researched it again before I came in today, but it's not exactly the same as undue hardship that the zoning board considers, which is a peculiarity that inheres in the property itself, and very often that's one of the reasons why variance applications before zoning boards are for what we call bulk variances. In other words, the setbacks because of the shape and size or topography or anything that actually inheres in the property. Undue hardship does not relate to the economics. So even though the board did ask for data about what the cost of the new structure would be and the demolition of the existing structure and so on and so forth. So I'm going to read to you the criteria for undue hardship. I think I have an easier one to read here. The second element, meaning undue hardship, may be demonstrated by evidence in consideration of the following factors: that the preservation of the building or structure or denial of the permit would impose an undue burden or hardship upon the applicant. 1. The condition, structural soundness, and integrity of the historic building, structure, or site, and the economic feasibility of its restoration or rehabilitation so as to allow for its reasonable use. 2, the threat to the public health and safety as a result of deterioration or disrepair of the historic building, structure, or site. 3, the technological feasibility of structural rehabilitation. The interference with the charitable purposes of any nonprofit or charitable organization if total demolition is not permitted. That doesn't apply here. And 5, such other information and evidence regarding the burdens upon applicant of preservation of the structure as the Historic Preservation Commission may reasonably rely upon and request in writing. The application is complete. The various things that have to be proven have been satisfied and put into the record. So if the applicant is going to rely on undue hardship, those are the criteria. And obviously, we'll listen to what council and their expert has to say.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer. So I believe, Mr. Klein, you're still under oath. Okay, do we?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide on this application tonight to the commission will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your associate?
Giselle.
You're going to have to spell that one.
Gisela. Giselle, Buzzeli.
Okay, got it.
And we also have Mr. Tremulak.
Yes.
Is here tonight.
Yes, thank you. if I can enter my appearance. Alan Tremulac, Montclair Real Estate Law Group, appearing on behalf of the applicants. I was retained by the property owners shortly after the initial hearing on this application in January. Obviously, I didn't attend the January meeting, but I did have the opportunity to watch the entire video of the hearing on the town's website. So, and what I'd like to do tonight, as you know, the board provided the applicants with comments at the conclusion of the last hearing, which have been taken into serious consideration, and as a result, Mr. Klein has submitted revised plans which we think address some of the concerns that the board had regarding the garage to be substantially removed, enough to qualify as total demolition under the ordinance. He also submitted a revised statement of need. And what I'd like to do tonight, after just a couple of other brief introductory comments, is just have Mr. Klein review the revised plans and indicate what he's done in particular with respect to the front of the garage, which faces Union Street, as well as discuss the statement of need, revised statement of need that was submitted. Just as a brief summary. I mean, I know the board's familiar with this application, but I think it's important to point out, the primary purpose of this application, is to construct an accessory dwelling unit in order to provide a home for Miss Menzel's elderly parents, who are actually with us this evening, who are also coincidentally Montclair residents themselves. But they're elderly, they have health concerns, and they have the need for a fully accessible dwelling, and obviously would like to be close to their family. So in addition, to creating the ADU, as you know, the applicants are seeking to enlarge the existing garage in order to accommodate a third vehicle for their parents, and also to provide a garage that actually can function as a garage in the year 2025. This garage, as you know, was built over 100 years ago in 1922, when cars were much smaller, and consequently the garage is much smaller and really can't accommodate a reasonably sized car by today's standards. And as a result, the garage hasn't been used for what its intended use was, to store vehicles, but as really it's a storage facility, and the vehicles can't fit in the garage and end up parking in the driveway. So that's the purpose of this application, which I think is important to keep in mind. And it's also, obviously, the board knows this, I know, but you're dealing with an accessory building, and in this case, the garage is 200 feet, give or take, from Union Street, barely visible unless you're actually looking for it. I'm not going to go into more detail. I think Mr. Klein can, cover, the details regarding the plan and what he's done to address the board's concerns, and particularly in revising the facade of the building to essentially replicate the Tudor Revival design of the existing garage, so that if this application is approved and the garage is enlarged, it will look essentially like it looks today if you're looking at it 200 feet away, walking down Union Street. So, having said that, if I might, then I would just ask Mr. Klein to review the plan revisions. Let's start with the plan revisions and point out what you've done.
Sure.
Okay,
I'm
great.
Very interested and supportive of historic preservation. I love working on 100-year-old houses. I live in one myself, for better or worse. Sorry. It's a pleasure to work in this community that cares a lot about historic preservation. It means a lot to me. I've been mentioned and awarded from the Montclair Historic Preservation Society more than once. I feel that we really listened to you last time. We heard you. We revised the drawings to accommodate in any way we can your concerns. We raised the ridge so that it's of the garage so that it's the same height as the current ridge. That means that we will need a variance from the zoning board because the land slopes. So we're okay on the west side, but on the east side we're more than 15 feet. I think I agree with you that it's the better way to do it, and we'll hope that the zoning board will see it the same way. We also changed the half timbering in the front facade of the garage, which, as Alan said, is what's visible from Union Street, to be vertical half timbering instead of the diagonal half timbering that we were using 2 months ago, which was taken from the front porch of the main house. As Alan said, Montclair really wants ADUs. It's important to the town to keep families together. This family wants to stay together. They should be able to stay together in 3 generations. They have some needs based on age and physical requirements, so that we need to widen the garage by 6 feet so that when you get out of cars, you have enough space to have an accessible 3-foot aisleway, and then you go directly into the ADU, into the front lobby or front hall. It's important that that works. And we need to widen it to accommodate that, and also to handle electric vehicle charging stations and bike racks, which is something that Montclair also wants. So we're trying to do everything we can to support Montclair and its historic preservation to make this something that Montclair can be proud of, and that the family can use as a family unit of 7 people.
Okay, can just a little some questions regarding the specifics of the facade changes that you've made. Just as a general question, was it your intent that the new design mimic or replicate the design of the existing garage?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, and you can see it there. Thank you, Gisela, for putting that on the screen.
Yeah, this is the old garage, and this is the new garage. So what we've done is we've replicated the verticals for the trim, and we also replicated the simplicity of the garage doors. The only thing that we added, because it's a big garage, is the glass transom on top, just to have some natural light coming in into the garage itself. Where is that? Right here. There's a glass transom.
The squares on the garage, the third light up from the bottom is glass.
But otherwise, it's the same simple board, overhead doors.
Is the stucco, will the stucco match the existing building in terms of color and the type of stucco?
Yes, it's a 3-coat stucco. We want to do that.
Okay. And the wood trim, that'll be painted similar to the existing structure?
Yeah,
Yes,
so this
exactly.
is- The brick will match the existing house, the stucco will match the texture, and the board would also match the color and, type of construction.
And with respect to the height, which you already mentioned, the limitation or the maximum permitted under the zoning ordinance is 15 feet. The existing building, which is taken by determining
Averaging, yeah.
average elevation. And you the existing building is non-conforming in that it's basically 18
Correct.
feet
Yeah.
in height, even though it's 15 feet in the front, because the slope of the land, and you take the average, you know, that the height for zoning purposes of that accessory structure is actually 18 feet.
That's
Yes,
right.
correct.
You had originally attempted to reduce the overall height in order to comply with the 15-foot limitation, and that resulted in the ridge being lowered and the pitch of the roof changing. Is that right?
Exactly, 100% right.
Okay, so now you've basically gone back to the height of the existing structure.
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
And by doing so, does that then result in a roof pitch that's similar to the existing structure?
Yes, I think you can see it on the screen.
Okay. All right, and so I want to just ask you a couple of questions, regarding some comments in the updated report from the board's consultant. In that report, consultant states that the larger garage, the newer, larger garage, will be, quote, similar in style to the main house. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it's a version of the main house in 1922, and it will be again this year.
Okay. He also states the garage would be, quote, barely visible from Union Street. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, you said earlier you really have to look, but if you look, you'll see that it's pretty much the same.
Okay. He said that the new facade for the front of the garage, quote, references the arrangement of half-timbering trim found on the existing facade, which is appropriate if a new structure is warranted. Do you agree with that comment?
Yes, I do. You can see it there on the screen.
Okay. And in your opinion, if the new structure were to be built, and if someone were to look at the new garage from Union Street, approximately 200 feet away in the rear of the property, would they be able to detect any noticeable or significant difference from the design of the garage as it looks today?
No, I think it was the same,
It would look essentially the same
essentially the same.
to the public view,
Absolutely.
in your opinion? Okay. All right, then, I mean, you've kind of given an overview regarding the concerns regarding the garage and the need to widen the garage, also lengthen it. You submitted a revised statement of need, with some pictures depicting that. You want to just sort of review the highlights of that for the board?
Sure.
And this
Well,
is I just handed you a copy of your February 7, 2025,
it looks familiar.
yeah, has your name on it. So I assume
hope so.
I assume you've seen that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the third car bay we put in the back. There's been a comment from your consultant about, okay, it's now a 3-car garage. Well, we don't want a 3-car garage that's wide 3-car garage. That wouldn't be as appropriate and wouldn't match what's there. So we put it in the back as a tandem parking space, which is not visible at all from Union Street. We need to widen the spaces between the 2-car bays in front for ease of access and mobility for people that need the space to allow them to circulate and get into their house. And we feel that a 6-foot addition, which would be 3 and 3, is about the minimum that we would need to make that work for them, so that they can have the use of the garage and get out easily into their home. We did as minimum amount of extra feet as we could so that it would work and be functional for this family and their needs.
Okay. I think that's all I have all the questions I have for Mr. Klein. I'm sure the commission members have some questions.
Thank you both. So we'll open it up to questions now from our commissioners. And then if anyone is in the audience that would like to ask a question, they can follow after we ask questions. So why don't we start with you, Mr. Mixer?
Thank you. Sure. So I was present when this was discussed originally. I have taken into account your entire report and everything that's changed in all of the pieces that you've essentially adjusted based on the comments that we gave originally. And I appreciate that. And so I'll say thank you for kind of thinking about what we've suggested and some of the things that we thought made sense to, improve both the visibility, or excuse me, the integrity of the style. And I think that, the one comment, and this is not a question, sorry, the comment that I'll make is that I do agree that this particular structure and the part that we're suggesting here would be even visible to the public is so incredibly minute that the drawings that you're showing here and the changes that you're suggesting may still look like the same existing structure today. And so I appreciate that largely still is intact, like I said, is the integrity of what we thought from a style perspective. I don't have any specific questions about what has been presented here today. I think it's fairly comprehensive.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Floyd?
So, previously I was happy with what you had done before, and I think that you've definitely made some excellent inroads in terms of making the adjustments that we asked for. The only question that I have, otherwise, I supported it before, so I will just say the visibility of the roof, with it being a little higher from the street. I think you mentioned it was 18. Is that?
That was on the low side.
That's on the low side. So is that, so the adjustment to
The ridge
be?
is the same.
Okay.
So if I may explain that. So what happens is that, let me just get to the. So what happens is one side from the driveway is 15 feet, and the property goes down to one side, so it drops 3 feet on the inside of the property, not visibly from the street.
Okay.
So the original garage was 15, and then the other side was 18.
Okay.
So what we did is we matched the ridge. So it's not going to be any more present than the current garage is.
Okay. That was my only question.
So the height is the same as the existing garage?
Yes.
Is what you're
We matched
saying?
the top of the ridge.
Yeah. That's, my biggest thing with the garage is that it's not a functional garage currently. Like that's where my position would be with that.
But do you have any other questions?
No, that's all I'm saying with that. But yes, I do support it, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Giuliano?
I just have one. If you were to match the exact roof pitch of the existing garage, how much higher does it raise the ridge?
Oh, you asked me for
It would
geometry.
be a lot more, because it's 6 to 12, so it
Mhm.
would probably go up at least 2 or 3 feet.
Okay.
Go
I
up
think
with
that'll
some
be
more.
too overwhelming.
Too much to, not confident in getting that variance?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I think if we tell them that we're matching the ridge as a precedent, it is likely that they will be in favor.
Okay, that was my only question.
Mr. Rooney?
I had the same question.
So could you explain that again?
Oh, okay.
It's
The que-
wider. It's wider, so if I keep the same pitch, the height, it's not going to be more than 15, right? Because this 6 on my geometry, I can't do it in my head
So what
anymore.
happens is that you have a triangle, right?
Right.
So if you do 6 to 12, it's 21 feet wide, and then you go to 25, it's going to be a lot taller.
And how much taller did you guesstimate?
I would say at least 3 feet taller.
Oh, 3 feet, okay.
And
It would be substantially
what's your
more.
variance now? How many feet?
Well, we're
3
not-
feet.
3.
feet. It would be 6 feet. So it'd be substantially, and I think it'll be overwhelming too, to the property.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to be, from that driveway, you don't want it to be taller than 15. It has the right scale. And all we've done is proportionally changed it to 5 to 12, which still keeps it in the Tudor style, but matching the ridge.
Yeah, I just ask because some towns do even give you a bonus. If you're trying to match the existing house's roof pitch, they'll let you increase your accessory building height, given that you're trying to make it match the existing house better. So I was just curious if you considered that.
In our professional opinion, it was that it was going to be too tall.
Okay.
As an accessory, would compete with the house.
Thank you for that. And Steve, any more questions? I have a question. The visibility from the street. I think you testified, how far is it from the street?
It's about 200 feet. The property's 270 feet deep on that side where the garage is. And, I didn't figure it exactly, but, but just looking at the survey, it's about 200. It might be 190, it might be 205, but it's 2/3 of a football field from the street.
Right. And so I'd like to ask our consultant, is that distance, visibility from a public right-of-way, is there any formula? No, no.
No, but I've seen this garage in person, and it definitely, in its existing form, qualifies as barely visible, minimally visible. If something changed, you would have to probably look for it, type of situation.
So you would consider it minimally visible?
Definitely. I mean, as you drive by 144 Union Street, you'd have to go very slow and look pretty hard to see the garage.
You have to be looking for it.
And that's assuming there's not a car parked in front of it, which there was, and that blocked effectively the whole garage.
Right. And then the other thing is the structure. There's the structure as it stands now is sound, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that, I think, is something that we have to consider because we are the Historic Preservation Commission. This isn't a district, a state district, and I just think that I just want to make it clear that the structure is sound, and there's.
Well, it's sound, but it needs to be repaired. So
Right.
to rehab it, if you look at the numbers we provided, it would almost be as costly as replacing it.
Okay, and that's on this sheet.
The last page, I think.
Oh, okay.
So you see the rehab is 196,000 because there's rot on the studs, because the studs sit on the slab. So there's rotting that is occurring. It needs a new roof. It's not in very good conditions, as you can see in the photos of the inside. So
I'm sorry, just where, because there's two things here. There's a estimate, this is the cost breakdown of the
rehab.
Okay, and then this one, which is on your statement, on your,
You also wanted the breakdown of the construction.
right, so, and demolition, so rehab is estimating 190,000, okay.
So that would mean if they take the existing structure to try to mediate the problem with the rotting of the studs and it's sitting on grade on the slab that it has water coming through, right? So they would have to raise the sill by putting a masonry wall or an upturned beam, right? And this will prevent the rotting of the plate, right? So they would have to shore up the entire garage to do this, underpin and put a new foundation, because the existing structure doesn't have a foundation. It has a gray beam and a slab on gray, which is by today's standard not adequate, right? So if they want to rehab it, it would cost $196,000 for a garage that they still can't park their cars.
We looked at this before. We've looked at a situation like this before. I just want to remind everybody, okay? Okay, thank you. And then the width of the garage, if the front of the facade, if the facade of the garage were to remain as is, without changing the ridge, you're testifying that if there's not enough, it's not wide enough to get a car in there.
And for people to get out, this family, seniors to get out with an aisleway of 3 feet, which is what we need for ADA requirements, which is also part of this application.
Okay, so would that be part of, can we consider that as part of the hardship?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you tell me what is the cost for the structure, not including the $7,400 for demolition?
Well, to rehab it's $196,000.
I'm not talking about the rehab option. I'm talking about new construction.
On the new construction.
Not including the $7,400 for demolition.
Yeah, we had that.
Isn't that on this?
So the demolition of the existing is $7,400, just to demolish the
Yeah,
structure.
excluding that.
Okay, and then to construct the garage is $181,000.
Thank you. I'd like to just expound on my answer a little bit. Like I said, there's certainly no case that presents a similar situation, but that's almost always true. Every case is different and, presents its own unique facts. So you have to reason from cases that are similar. But this strikes me a little bit like when agencies replace historic structures that may even have, landmark protection, like historic bridges and things like that, and the bridge is dilapidated. This is a situation where the applicant is asserting not only that it needs to be repaired and that repair would be very expensive, but that it's structurally deficient. And one of the things that happens with bridges, and which is why they get replaced a lot, even when they're historic, and could be preserved through either an expensive reconstruction or an expensive rehabilitation, is because they're structurally deficient. In other words, another lane is needed. That's very common. And so even though this is not the Department of Transportation or even, local public works in front of you or county public works, I do so much work with agencies that the parallel is striking to me, and it's always a very difficult decision for the agency, and especially the historic resource staff within the agency or at a SHPO, as to whether the money should be spent to keep the existing structure in its functionally deficient, because there's so much value to the history of the structure, versus replacing it with a modern structure. And then there's a lot of discussion, which often goes the wrong way, about how to make a modern structure fit in with an historic environment, because normally historic bridges or often I should say historic bridges, and I'm just using that as an example, are in an historic district. And that's one of the reasons they were kept that way, with stone masonry piers or single lanes or only 2 lanes, whereas 4 might be warranted, and so on and so forth. So it's a balancing, and that's the best advice I can come up with, because frankly the criteria, and I think we might want to consider making a suggestion to the governing body, but the criteria addresses itself to a structure that's really in disrepair, and the hardship relates to that, not just money, because that's really not what you should be going on. And besides, the 2 options here are very close, 181 and 196. It's whether you're swayed by the lack of functionality of the current garage, balanced by the fact that they can construct a new garage that looks that fits so well. If that's I'm not making any comments, I'm just verbalizing how I would interpret this structure or this criteria if I were you.
Thank you. I think that was very insightful. So at this point, I'm going to ask our consultant to go over his revised report, please.
Sure. Just a few questions before I get there.
Sure.
I see the 181,000 substantiated with an estimate dated January 26th. Where did the 196,000 for the rehabilitation come from?
There's two numbers, estimates were given.
Same date?
Same day, there's two estimates, one for the construction and one for the rehab.
I don't see the rehab.
I emailed it to you.
That one?
I think it might have been a separate document.
Okay, but what you're saying is that
It
it's,
should be two notes.
That one?
That's where I got the
yeah, I see it.
the 181.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
the
yeah.
top.
If you email it to me, you can enter it as an exhibit.
But your, I don't want to dwell on that, but your testimony is it's backed up by a licensed home improvement contractor's estimate. Okay,
contractor.
got it.
We'll need that.
Okay.
And,
Wait, how much is that?
The rehab was 196,000. There was backing numbers that were provided.
We can get it. We'll get it.
so there was a statement of need presented during the January meeting. What changed in the February 7th version that we're discussing tonight, if anything?
As far, you asked for backing numbers, and we provided backing numbers from the contractor.
But nothing within the 3-page statement of need changed between January and February?
No.
Well,
Okay.
We changed comments about windows and the vertical half timbering.
Okay. Then, just to turn to my report, I'm going to focus on the conclusion, which is the 4th bullet. And if you could pull up sheet D1, please. And I want to talk about the first residential district's character and the proposed garage's consistency with that. Those are all houses from within this potential historic district, right?
The surroundings.
Yeah,
Or the immediate
round houses, yeah.
neighborhood. Can you just identify which of those are 3, 4, 5-car garages or have one in their rear yard that's visible from the street?
Sorry, the mouse. So this one here, it's about the same distance, probably a little bit closer than ours.
Which are you referring to?
That is 152 Union Street.
That's right next door, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see the properties right here? And then the building is all the way down there. And this is their driveway. And that thing that you see in the back, that's the garage. And that's a garage zoomed in.
And
From the
that,
street,
that's a big multi-car garage, or is it a similar compromised?
it's about the same size as what we're proposing. Because that's not original for the house.
So it fits 3 or 4 cars, is what you're saying?
Well, it definitely fits two.
It fits 2,
They don't have a tandem like they do, but you wouldn't see the tandem from our property.
but it fits 2 more comfortably than,
Then you're
Okay.
right, that's correct.
do any of the examples on that sheet have 3 or 4-car garages?
Not visibly, because this one was a restoration on a carriage house. And the other one has a pool house. And then there's ours, which you can see in here. This is from the street and the driveway. And back there, in the back of that tree, is the existing garage.
Okay, so then to couch the garage size capacity for a moment, can you speak to if you consider doing the accessory dwelling unit as an addition to the existing garage structure? Some of the merits of doing that and maybe some of the difficulties that just didn't lead you down that path?
It's right next to it because when you get out of the car, you have to get right into the
Of-
front hall flat.
Of
I mean,
course,
it's-
but looking at the existing two-car garage, and for the moment disregarding the compromised size of parking an SUV, et cetera, could you not have put an accessory dwelling unit on the south, I think, elevation of that as an addition to the existing garage without demolishing it?
Around the
You
back?
would need 3 doors. Because it's not wide enough to, if you knock down the middle, first of all, you'll take the character away from the building, right? Because it'll be one giant garage door, right? And if you make it wide enough to the other end, now I have to put a dormer to it. And which will be, then it will create like a mansard roof instead of like what you would find in a 2-year. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't. I think what I'm asking is if you look at sheet D2, which is the existing,
B2?
yes. It's a demolition plan, but it shows the footprint of the existing garage.
In addition to this, in order for me to, I would have to knock this pier and that pier and put something in there so that I could have the 2 big garage doors that I need in order to put the cars in place. Those garage doors are on the sides. So
I think what I'm suggesting is if you're working with the existing garage
Yeah, okay.
and you're putting an addition onto that without touching the garage doors to accommodate
I won't be able to
the
still
accessory
put the
dwelling
garage
unit.
because the garage doors are too narrow. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, and we need the 3 feet.
We
Okay,
need
and we
wider
don't
doors.
have it.
Maybe I'm not making sense. Okay. So I think that concludes the questions I have directly from my report. Did you have any questions about my report?
No.
Or is
No,
anything
we like
unclear?
Thank you,
I think we
yeah.
like your report,
We like your
Oh.
report.
mostly.
Okay.
Do you mind if I approach the screen and ask a question?
Do I mind? No, not at all.
Is this one of the vehicles? I mean, not that vehicles don't change, but is this one of the vehicles? Yes. It's one of the smallest vehicles. So you can tell that it doesn't quite fit through the door.
Do you have any, another question? Ms. Bauer?
No?
I have a question of you. If we approve this demolition and they decide not to go ahead with their proposed addition, the demolition then carries forward indefinitely? Or is it based on
You could condition it.
condition that an ADU be attached to the new structure?
Yeah, well, I would anticipate that if the board was going to vote for it, you would be conditioning it anyway, because you're not going to grant approval for it unless the zoning board grants whatever variances they need to
Right.
build the ADU.
Right.
Are there variances for the ADU or just for the garage?
Yeah.
No.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I
There are a
thought.
number,
several
So,
there are a number of
yeah,
variances. Okay.
I mean, that would be satisfactory, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
a problem. That's the intent, obviously.
it's
It's all
conditional.
part of the overall project,
Mhm.
which if I might, I don't want to interrupt if you're still asking questions, but,
No, can you clarify more? Do you have more to say?
well, I'd like to just make some concluding comments before
Oh,
you decide
okay.
the application.
No,
That would be, you'll tell me when appropriate time would be.
No. Does anyone else have any other questions? No?
Public comment?
Yeah, well, why don't we have comments now before,
Sure.
okay.
I may not need to, to sum up.
What's that?
I may not need to make any concluding comments if I hear similar comments as earlier.
Mr. Mixer, do you have a comment and
I do, yeah.
discussion?
Sure, just a comment. Just from the other questions that were asked and the other comments that we've just taken, a couple of sort of notes. One, I also agree that a standard car today, and yes, you can get very large cars and you can find small cars, but a standard car today will not fit easily into that garage. You may have to fold your side view mirrors, and when you sneak in, you might have to shimmy out the other side. That doesn't seem like a reasonable use for a garage. So I can understand that expanding it. And then another comment also related to perhaps your, Mr. Smolin, your request on an addition is that ultimately the addition doesn't solve the parking problem, right? And so, yeah, you could throw another building in the back corner there, but it doesn't solve the consistency of getting out of a car with enough space and getting into that same ADU in a reasonable manner that's appropriate for age consideration, or I guess ability. So, yeah, I can understand also how that's probably not the right solution from a pure addition perspective. And then the final comment I'll say is that I think, again, from the facade and the style and the view and the minimal visibility from the street, this hits the mark from the perspective of a not principal piece of property. And yeah, I'm ultimately in favor of this demolition.
Thank you. Ms. Floyd
No further comments.
and Mr. Giuliano?
I'm mostly in favor of this as well at this point. I think under 20 feet is a tough width to get two cars into, even if you put the walk area into the addition piece. You got to consider the door swing. I think our ordinance is mostly in place to make sure this kind of house doesn't get demolished, and replaced with something that's uncharacteristic of the neighborhood. This is so far set back from the street. You're making a lot of good attempts to replicate what's there, just a little bit wider, just enough to get what you need. The ADU addition doesn't look like it's trying to be part of the garage. The roof slope is turned. I do think you should go for the roof pitch higher to match the existing garage. I think the zoning board would be receptive of that, and I think it looks better on the house. The same pitch, 5 and 12, is not really in the neighborhood of a Tudor design. Oftentimes you see ones that are 14 and 12 on a Tudor. So it's your project, but I think it's worth going for it, to really make it look like an original garage, just with the little bit of additional feet. And, with the existing house, you've got a good case for that. I personally think I would be in favor of that if I were on the zoning board. But yeah, I think there's enough hardship for what you're trying to do with this garage to warrant demolition, and I think it's secondary enough to the main house and principal building of the property that it's warranted. I have no further comments.
Thank you. Mr. Rooney?
Yeah, I agree that I think that the pitch of the garage itself should be what it is now, just extended over the width of the structure below. It'll make it higher, but what it does without it is it looks more like a 50s or 60s modern split levels, and that's not what you're trying to do here. Otherwise, to put in an ADU, I think it's really good, and maybe sets up a precedent so we can continue more with this stuff.
Thank you. I found this is very difficult for me because I do think that being that it's not structurally unsound, we have looked at garages that need the work at the base, and in fact, we denied a demolition quite recently because of that. So I think that the things that we've discussed last time and you brought forward this time have swayed me a bit because I'm your neighbor, so I certainly do want to see the opportunity to have ADUs in place. I just wish that there had been maybe a more creative solution, and we're not supposed to design here. So I just think that preserving at least part of the facade for the front from the street would have been, I guess, warranted is a good word. But having said that, I think that the minimally visible aspect of it from the right-of-way really adds to, your, and you've done a great, I mean, undeniably, it's a very attractive, fits in with the neighborhood, fits in with the house, and you've replicated, the Tudor design. So I would like to hear Mr. Tremulek's closing statements, and then if there's nobody from the public that wishes to speak, we will vote on it then. Okay? Thank you.
I'm going to keep it brief because I've been doing this a long time, and if I can count correctly, I think I should just sit down or stay seated and shut up. But notwithstanding that, I would like to make a few comments, but limited in nature. First of all, everyone in this room is in favor of Historic Preservation Commission. It's why we choose to live in this town. We're so fortunate to have the variety of housing and the great historical and architectural housing that we have. So preservation is important. And obviously, I'm telling this to the Historic Preservation Commission. But at the same time, we can't look at it as preservation in a vacuum. And I think it's important, first of all, to take into consideration the objectives that the applicants are trying to accomplish here. It's not just to tear down an old garage. It's to accomplish two things. First and foremost is to create an accessory dwelling unit for Ms. Menzel's elderly parents to live in. That's an important objective. And by the way, it's 2 years to today that the town enacted the accessory dwelling ordinance. And I know that because I pulled it out, because I just want to read one of the first purpose of that ordinance recited in the ordinance, and it's section 347-8, subsection A, purpose and intent. Township Council finds and declares purpose of the section is to, quote, provide citizens with the opportunity to retain their homes, age in place, and create adaptive living environments for people living with disabilities. And there's also an additional purpose about providing flexible housing options for residents that respond to changing family needs, smaller households, and increasing housing costs. So, I mean, the council has adopted this ordinance as a public policy statement that we want ADUs, we think they're good for the town, and that's what we're trying to achieve here. In addition to providing a garage that actually can function as a garage, and you can park cars in it and not have it operate as a storage unit, which is what it does today. And I think, and that latter point, I think, goes to the second prong or the second element of your criteria with the undue hardship, which, admittedly, it's not defined. There's sort of a catch-all in the ordinance that allows the board to take into consideration, other evidence and considerations. But, I wish my colleague, Jerry Sweeney, was here tonight, because he clearly hit the nail on the head, in my mind, at your January meeting when he said, and I think I'm quoting this from the transcript, preserving the garage, which is not functional, is a hardship in and of itself. And it is. My clients ought to be able to modify this garage, demolish it in the terms of the ordinance, and have it function. They've gone out of their way to preserve the appearance from the street. And again, I've mentioned this time and again, we're 200 feet from the street. Can you see the garage from the street? Yeah. if you're driving down Union Street and you stop in front of the driveway and you look down the driveway, you'll see it. You'll not see it if you're driving either way on Union Street. You won't see it if you're walking down Union Street unless you happen to stop, on the sidewalk and look down the driveway, and there you'll see 200 feet away this Tudor Revival garage. So the loss of that garage from, because this gets to the first prong of your ordinance, which talks about what's the effect of this, losing this structure on the ambiance of the historic neighborhood. Clearly, there's minimal, if any, impact. You can hardly see it. So it's clearly not going to have any effect on the streetscape. You can drive down Union Street, you're going to see these big, beautiful houses on fairly large properties. You're still going to see that. And if you happen to glance down the driveway, you're going to see, oh, that looks like, if you know anything, the type of architecture, it's going to look just like it looks today, pretty much. And it's going to have the appearance of a Tudor Revival style garage. The pitch might be different, but I'm not sure most people would be able to see that from the street, that there's perhaps a different pitch than what currently exists. I think we meet. It's an either-or requirement, your ordinance. You either have to show that preservation is not warranted or there's an undue hardship. I think we meet both of the criteria here. I think we clearly meet the criteria. I don't think the intention of the council in adopting this ordinance was to preserve accessory structures that can hardly be seen from the street and that are non-functional in their current condition, such that the homeowner cannot utilize the structure for the purpose for which it was intended. So for all of those reasons, I think this is clearly an application which deserves entitles the approval from this commission, so we can proceed on to the next step and tussle with the zoning board over the 3 or 4 variances we're going to need, which will not be fun.
Thank you. Well said. Before we move forward, I'd like to ask to Ms. Bauer again, we'll have a vote now. Do the conditions come before the vote, or do conditions come after the vote?
Oh, the condition should be part of the motion.
Part of the motion, okay.
Yeah. But I do want you to call for a public hearing unless you know everybody's not.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Is anyone here wish to speak to this application? No, okay. All right, so before we put it to a motion, we need to speak about conditions. So Ms. Bowers listed a few, if we approve it, about the, what would the verbiage be?
Well, the demolition would be conditioned on approval of the zoning board to construct the ADU. It's not a one-off, in other words. You're not approving the demolition of the garage just to build a new garage.
Right. So it'd be conditioned on the zoning board's approval for the creation of an ADU.
Right, well, the whole site plan, I mean.
Yeah, an ADU connected to the garage.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're clearly connected, as has been described, well by Ms. Bazzilli.
Though, as we are seeing it today versus any other design as presented.
Well, as presented, but the zoning board, in other words, it's not fixed in stone. Let's say they decided to change the roof pitch, or they decided not to change the roof pitch. I mean, that's, you're approving what they've presented here. Yeah.
Right, and we're approving just the demolition at this point.
Yeah.
So,
But conditioned on the approval by the zoning board of the whole project.
Mm-hmm.
So that, we're ready to, okay, so we're ready to move forward. The motion, does someone want to make the motion to approve the demolition based on the zoning board's approval of the whole project that we viewed tonight?
I motion to approve.
Okay. And second?
Second.
Okay. And then, do we have a,
Yes, I'll call the roll. Chair Bennett.
I'm going to say yes. I am very torn about this,
I'll
but I,
just clarify. So we're saying yes is it approval to deny? Yes?
yes,
To
yes,
demo.
yes.
No,
yes.
to demo.
Sorry, sorry.
Sorry. I misspoke.
Approval to demo.
Approving the demolition.
Yes.
And a no is a denial of the demolition. Okay.
Right, because I do agree with Mr. Smollen's report. However, I think that, for historic preservation, there needs to be a balance. We cannot live in a void or in a vacuum. And I think your clients have presented with Mr. Klein's, architectural design, and Ms. Bazzelli, I think that it's something that will be functional, and it will be, I think it'll fit in the character of the neighborhood. And you're right, when I drove by up and down Union Street, that's why I asked the question of Mr. Smollen about the visibility from the street. It's the way that it's positioned, a little bit offset, it's really quite hidden, although we have to consider that because it is visible from the public right away. So I would vote yes. Thank you.
Mr. Rooney.
Yes.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes.
Mr. Mixer.
Yes.
Ms. Floyd.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then, moving forward with new business. Don't go anywhere. This is a Board of Adjustment referral from application 2909 144 Union Street, expanded garage and ADU. Oh, wait, Mr. Klein?
Well,
We
we'll
have to-
give you comments on the zoning board application now.
We need your comments. We need to make recommendations to the zoning board now on your.
So it's on the same plan, they'll just review what you're proposing and see if they have any comments on the materials or anything. Okay.
Because it's the new, now it's the comments.
Yeah, well, then the HPC sends a report to the zoning board saying, we recommend that they use X, Y material or amend the design in such way.
Missed it. I just didn't realize it was the same application in December.
Yes, you just stay here, they'll provide you comments on.
But when you say you missed it, you...
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break while everybody's organizing,
that's
okay?
fine. Okay. Because you threw me there when you got up and said, well, I missed the last meeting, because I was like, that would throw a monkey wrench in
New business, this is the same application, application 2909. The garage at 144 Union Street, it's an expanded garage with ADU. So this is going on now to the zoning board, and we have to give our recommendations on this application to the zoning board. So I think everyone is, by this time, very familiar with, with this application. I don't think there's any more need unless the commissioners feel for you to explain the application. So maybe we'll just start with questions. Well, let me just say that the zoning for our recommendations, the variance for the ADU, that this ADU is larger than what the requirement is. It's 840 square feet, and this ADU measures almost 1,300 square feet, correct? Which I think you've reduced it since the last time, because I remember it was it was almost triple, wasn't it?
No, it's the same size.
It's
the same size. Nothing has changed.
Okay, so we just have to discuss this, because
No,
that's a
that's fine.
variance and that's larger. So we have to see how that impacts the neighborhood, what the visibility is. We already talked about the height of the ridge, which I think everybody was fine with, and I know that Mr. Giuliani had some suggestions on that. And then the setbacks, you are requiring a setback for a minimum side yard, and, but I believe, although I don't know, but I'd ask you to testify to this, is the foundation of the original garage the same as your proposed garage, or is it closer to the property
No,
line?
it's not
No, it's in the
closer.
same.
Same spot.
location.
It's in the same location, okay. So, we've already talked about the materials that you've testified to, the materials you're going to use, the stucco and the cross beam, beaming, and what about the doors? I wanted to ask you about the doors, the garage doors, the proposed garage doors.
They're similar, except that they have some glass lights on the
So
third
there
row
will
up.
be the same kind of like board and back.
Okay.
To that, with like a raised panel. And which you can see right here, that's what it would look like, the profile. And it would be, just kind of zoom in. Hold on.
That one there. This guy, right? And then the right. That panel?
So this panel right here,
That one. Frame panel model.
So, Mr. Klein, while you're up there, maybe you could come to this microphone and just describe, these are the windows you propose and the doors? You could,
so there will be Marvin windows.
Sorry, is there a handheld mic?
Yeah.
That we can?
The windows will be from Marvin, and they are wood inside with clad outside. And the garage door it's a wooden panel door that's insulated, and it will mimic the old garage door. The only difference would be that we're putting a glass top panel across the top.
The third row up from the ground.
Yeah,
third row.
Third,
the top row,
fourth row.
fourth row.
Fourth row.
Okay, I was going to say, those are pretty big.
Sorry.
It's okay. So we will be matching the roof from the existing house. We will be adding pavers. The doors, these are the entry doors, the man door that you see in the back, which will not be visible from the street. And then the other one will be very similar to the doors that you find in the foyer at the rear porch of the house. and then the sliding doors, and then we'll have casements and double hungs in the garage. And then we'll have these little windows that are on the rear of the bedrooms, just to allow them some privacy and to be able to have the boards of the beds. But, all very consistent to matching the texture of the stucco, the casing around the windows, the color of the brick, the timber. This is what's going to be on the open porch. We're also doing the beading on the roof of the open porch, similar to what they have on the porch on the front and the back.
Could you repeat that, please?
The beadboard that is
Okay.
that's going to be on the top
Beadboard.
of the ceiling that it's
Okay.
underneath. And then we would have a very simple railing that it's going to be for the back man door that acts as the condensers.
And where is the HV?
Site plan,
Right here.
back there.
Here's the man door, and it's right here, right
Okay,
in the back. And it will not be visible from the street or even from the side yard.
okay. Thank you. Mhm. Do you have anything else to, I've been asking questions. Do you have anything else to add to? No?
No, I mean, we are going to landscape it, and there was a comment from the engineer. There will be a report that we will submit to zoning once approved for the storm retention.
Civil engineer.
Okay. Do you have, that was going to be my question, a landscape plan did you?
Well, right now, the only landscaping that we're showing is the landscaping that is going to be attached to the actual building, because the rest of it is mostly lawn and open trees, like the current property is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to open it up to questions from our commissioners now. Mr. Mixer?
No questions, thank you.
No questions?
Mr. Giuliano?
Yeah, for the garage door, is it real wood?
Yeah.
Or is it like a stained panel
It'll be
composite
painted.
material?
It'll be painted, but it is wood.
Okay. And the windows, any thought to having muntins or grills in them at any point to match the house more, rather than just the flat glass? Because it looks kind of out of
We
character
discussed
with
it,
the rest of
but,
the...
It's,
I mean, when we had the diamonds, there was a cost associated with it. There was too
Sure.
much. So there was a lot of the other windows which you find in the rear, which are like the smaller structures, the foyer, and those don't have muntins. So we figure, being that this is an accessory, that we will keep the windows kind of simple without muntins
Okay.
for cost efficiency and for appearance.
And then just my last question, I'm sure the zoning board's going to ask. If we are approving demolition and you're building this completely new, could we not eliminate the side yard setback completely and build it in a conforming location?
It'll encroach into
That's a play
the
area.
garden and the current playground of the children.
yeah.
Okay. All right, that's all.
Mr. Rooney?
No question.
Mr. Graham?
No questions.
And I have no further questions. So I'd just like to ask, if anybody from the audience have questions? If not, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Smolin again. Do you have any, you've made any additional remarks for the zoning board for recommendations?
No.
Okay, thank you. So why don't we now go to discussion? Mike?
I don't know that I have much to add at the moment. I think I'm generally supportive of the design.
Okay. Mr. Rooney?
No, no.
And Mr. Giuliano? Mrs. Floyd? And Mr. Mixer?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Okay. So I think we have the recommendation. Could you just go over them, what we've talked about?
Was there any recommendations from this?
Well, we had questions
Right. The questions were,
about the windows and the doors.
yeah. So the muntins and grills are not being maintained to keep the windows simple and for cost efficiency. The proposed garage doors will be real wood that are painted. There's a glass transom that's added. Otherwise, the garage door is in keeping with the design of the existing. And the reason for the side yard setback is to not encroach into the backyard and playground area.
Can we add a landscape plan as well?
Yes, yes. So they'll present a landscaping plan for the zoning board of adjustment.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Is the board going to recommend the difference in the pitch to be more in keeping with the Tudor design, or?
I would, yeah.
Okay, that's a
Well,
recommendation.
that's up to you. I'm not. Okay.
Thank you. That's a good catch. Thank you. All right, well, I think that's it. Good luck with the zoning board.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We appreciate your thoughtful comments.
All right, our next, hold on. Montclair Avenue. Our next agenda item is application 9515, 117 Watchung Avenue. This is in addition to an existing second-floor apartment.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
So while you're setting up, let me just introduce this application. As I mentioned, it's at 117 Watchung Avenue. We are reviewing it because it's located in the Watchung Historic Business District, and it's being referred to us. This is a contributing building in the historic district. There are two dates of construction, which Mr. Smolin will speak more on. One is the original 1920s, and then there was an addition about 1980, I believe. What we are going to look at is the project description is that the applicant proposes to extend the second floor to enlarge the bedroom from a one-bedroom, one-bathroom unit to a two-bedroom, two-bathroom unit. And that includes a terrace. It includes a new mechanical equipment, and it includes, I believe, it's changes to the front and back facades.
That's correct, yep.
Okay. So those are the description and what we're going to be looking at tonight. There are a few variances as well, but I think what I just described is really what we have to be cognizant of. So, hello, introduce yourself, please.
I'm Ryan Robertson, the architect for the applicant. Dave Patel and Amit Patel are the applicants. They intended to be here, and they wanted to apologize. They had a death in the family, so they're not going to be able to attend today. And Alan Trembulac is representing the application as a whole, but he's left for the night. You guys tired him out. So it's just me, Ryan Robertson from Sionis Architecture, now GSA PC. And do I need to be sworn in before I?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Is the testimony, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide on the application tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, why don't you begin and walk us through the project?
Okay, great. So I've prepared a PowerPoint that is mostly all the images that you already have in the drawings. There's a few supplemental items, so this is technically an exhibit. The application, as the chair noted, is 117 Watchung. It's in the NC Neighborhood Commercial Zone and in the Watchung Plaza Historic District. You can see here from the survey, the lot is approximately 14.68 feet by 85 feet, rectangular shaped lot, 1,248 square feet or 0.029 acres. located on the south side of Watchung Avenue between Watchung Plaza to the west and North Fullerton to the east. The lot is improved with an existing two-story building. The front two-thirds, you can see a dashed line right here. The front two-thirds is a one-story concrete block building. The rear is, the first floor is concrete block and then wood frame on the second floor, which is, there's an apartment back there. The entire first floor is a restaurant. And the existing building meets the property lines to the north, east, and west. To the south, there's a 10-foot wide area with a right of access abutting the municipal parking lot back here. Next slide. I cannot see my... There we go. This is a Google Street View taken from December 2024. You can see the narrow building of the subject property is located between Mr. Dino's Pizza to the left and 115 Watchung to the right in this photo. This building is also owned by the applicants, the Patels, which houses the Townhouse Liquor and Wine and the Boho Cafe and Hair Salon. And about 10 years ago, our office produced this second story, similar to what this application is about. It was previously a one-story brick building, and we added the second story for residential apartments. We were tasked 10 years ago to try to come up with a way, this is before my time with the firm, but to come up with a way to build this without disrupting the first floor. So they did the framing over the existing roof and didn't do any demolition until it was fully enclosed. And so that's the intent of this project as well. So that has driven some of the design concerns or choices we've made. And then on this front street view, you see the stone veneer on wire lath. That is the existing treatment, and then the modern glazed storefront. The next streetscape is the rear. The Google car actually went back in the municipal parking lot, so you can see here's the subject property right here. It's a textured masonry block in the back and a little shed roof leading to the wood-framed apartment back there. You also see in this photo double doors kind of behind this van, which are the lead to the restaurant back of house area. And then there's a white door as the only means of access to the apartment. There's a stair right beyond this white door. This photo I chose also because you can see the UPS store around the corner. That's going to come up in some of this testimony. The applicants own a dumpster that's being held right there, and as part of the DRC meeting we just had, they wanted us to come up with a better way to deal with trash and recycling, so we're going to propose an enclosure over by the UPS store, and I've got some drawings in here that are not in your set that will be gone through here. Next page. I've just got some screenshots from Mr. Smollen's review letter. Just high-level points. He pointed out the residential addition setback variance was granted in 1986, and this was a longtime home of the Watchung delicatessen. And I added another photo from a recent site visit of the entry. These are the existing plans. The existing basement is 736 square feet from here to here, and then this whole area in the front is just crawl space, 609 square feet of crawl space. The existing first floor, as I said, the entire thing is a restaurant. There's stairs to the basement, and here's the stairs up to the apartment. That is 1,302 square feet exclusive of this little area. And then the small apartment up here is a bedroom, a full bath, and not even a full kitchen. It's just kind of a room with a hot plate. And then a window looking out onto the flat roof. This is, for a flat roof, it pitches pretty substantially. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to frame over the top of it. This high point right here is kind of dictating the heights that we had to choose. These are the the two existing elevations. This is the storefront has the stone on lath, the modern storefront, glass storefront with a door and a transom, an existing fabric awning, an existing sign, and then here's the parapet. This is quite a ways back in the distance. That's the apartment. And at the rear was the shed roof that I highlighted leading up to that apartment view. and the textured block with the doors to the restaurant and the door to the apartment. The surrounding area, here again, I've highlighted the UPS store just so you can orient to yourself when you see the idea for the trash enclosure. It's going to be located right here at the end of the parking area. Here is the municipal parking lot. Here is the entrance to the apartment. Of course, here's Watchung. Here's Watchung Plaza. And so the proposal, as the chair already mentioned, it's a second floor addition to enlarge the existing 1-bedroom, 1-bath up to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath dwelling unit. That of the variance, well, of the few variances we need, one of them is parking, because moving up from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom increased our demand by 0.2 parking spaces. So it's a very slight increase in demand. The other part of the proposal is some terraces at the front and the rear to set back the second floor addition. There'll be rooftop mechanical equipment located kind of clustered right in here, and they'll be surrounded by a a wood equipment screen, and then modifications to the front and rear facade. Here's just a list of all those variances and waivers we can go over if they get brought up during discussion. And so for the proposal, the proposed first plan, I didn't show the basement. There's no changes proposed to the basement. The first floor plan really has no changes to the restaurant itself, although the stair leading to the apartment is not appropriately fire separated. So we will have to reconstruct the wall and have gypboard on the underside of the stair just to rate that. The second floor plan is the bulk of the scope here. As you go up the stairs, we had to go up a couple more stairs to get to the right height, and then leading to a small living room area. There's a place for a dining table and a little galley kitchen with some peninsula seating, and then kind of 2-bedroom suites. The primary suite, here's Watchung to the right of this image. Primary suite is here with a little balcony and has its own ensuite bathroom, has a little utility closet with laundry there. If you go up the stairs and are in the living room, you go down a couple more to get to a public bathroom for anyone, and then the second bedroom, which also has a private terrace. On the roof, you see the 2 terraces below. You'll see in the section view, we kind of tried to be cognizant of the construction at 115 and not intrude, get any higher than that building, and kind of work with those roof lines so that we have a flat roof, essentially a flat roof here that's kind of split in half, pitching. Some of it's pitching to the back, some of it's pitching to here, where we're going to collect roof runoff and tie into existing pipes that exist already in the restaurant. And then here's a gable to kind of create some interest on Watchung. This also shows 4 skylights and 2 sun tunnels to those 2 interior bathrooms, which unfortunately can't have windows. And so the proposed front elevation, I can't read all my notes there. It's too far away. Just bear with me 1 second, please. Okay. For the front facade, we're calling for a proposed synthetic slate or a fiberglass composition roof shingle. There's not a whole lot. It's just this small gable right here, so I'm hoping they'll choose to go with the synthetic slate. We're proposing aluminum gutters and roof leader right here. Proposing wood-clad casement windows, 2 shown right here, and then a fully glazed single-leaf door to the terrace. We're showing a brick soldier course right here and a wall sconce. There's an error in this drawing. The wall sconce that's shown in the renderings and is shown in this presentation later, that's the sconce we're proposing instead of this one, which was a placeholder. We've got 3 gooseneck lights to light the relocated sign, and the existing awning remains, the existing storefront remains, except for It used to be like a bronze finish, and now it's black. I'm not sure when that was replaced, but for some reason the handle stayed bronze, so we're going to change that to black. And there's a ventilation grill right here that will remain. At the rear, we've got the equipment screen that you'll understand probably a little better on the roof plan, how far back that is. Brick soldier course here. This is thin brick, by the way, not full brick. Thin brick soldier course. Soldier course is above the casement window, and a similar single leaf glass door. Here's the terrace. And the side of this building, you can see right here, we're proposing stucco. And we are choosing to wrap the stucco around the back. This is the side that faces the parking lot. The existing textured block wall would remain up to that point, and we're creating a different colored band of stucco to match the textured block right here, just to give some separation. There was you can see right here, there's a floodlight that's currently located right here, but we wanted to provide some rain cover at the apartment door, so we're proposing a small fabric awning to match the front, and then relocating that floodlight so it doesn't cast a huge shadow. Existing meters are located right here, and there's kind of a ramp up to both those doors, which exists. And again, on this, clarification on the sconce, that is shown incorrectly on the drawing. It'll be this style of sconce. In the rendering is what we were proposing. Here is showing a section, kind of a schematic section, showing that construction intent that I mentioned early. This is the pitch of the existing roof, so we're leaving some room to overframe, and sets our new floor level, so we have to add a couple steps to get to the high point. And then the red indicates the neighboring property, 115 Watchung, which we kind of tried to relate to the roof pitches there and not come up and down too much and have flashing problems to try to deal with. So this was mislabeled. It says existing diagrammatic section, but it's not. This is the proposed east facade, so showing basically the whole thing stucco. The neighbor to the east could build at some point, so it's intended to be like that, which is what 115 looks like right now. Here are the two streetscapes, the existing and proposed at Watchung Avenue, and the next page will be at the rear, so you can see the height relationships, and nothing currently second floor on the property to the east. Oops. Oh, we don't have a streetscape of the rear, my mistake. Site improvements. Got a couple of things here. Here's a gooseneck light we're proposing, although we propose it in black color. This is just for the signage lighting. Here are the two sconces we're proposing at the terrace. This is a wood mechanical equipment screen that would go on that middle area of the roof surrounding the rooftop equipment. And then I've got a snippet of the signage master plan here. It's just the existing sign gets relocated, and there's address signage on the two awnings, front and rear. Oh, thank you. Good idea. I think I opened the wrong presentation, though. Okay, so on this page here, I'm showing the UPS store, which I highlighted for you on that kind of aerial photograph. Here's an existing door to the UPS store, rear door. There's two windows here. There's the utility pole you probably can't see in here, but you'll see in my diagrammatic plan, there's two bollards and a little AC unit. And then here is the dumpster in question that we're going to do a cedar enclosure for. And here is that in plan view. Here's the door to UPS, here's the two windows. The ordinance requires that trash enclosures have a roof, but at the DRC meeting, we talked about that it would block the windows to that UPS store. So we agreed that we would just seek a waiver for that. And so just propose a board-on-board cedar trash enclosure with no roof, and similar to this reference photo. And then we have to present to the planning board a trash and recycling plan. It's kind of a mess, I guess, in that lot with recycling, people not doing a great job of keeping it tidy. So part of the requirements for the applicant is to provide bins for recycling at both places, Townhouse Wine, and which has a lot of cardboard, as you can imagine, and they testified previously that they would keep that up. So we're being required to readdress that and provide some receptacles for that. And part of our obligation is to provide this trash recycling plan, which states recycling is once a week on Wednesdays, trash pickup is twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, and to state who's sharing that dumpster behind UPS. And who's sharing that is everyone at 117 Watchung, the subject property, which would be the Thai Indian restaurant, plus the new apartment dwellers, and then everyone at 115, which would be Townhouse Liquor, and the second floor apartments above 115 Watchung, as well as UPS. And so here I've just inserted some excerpts from Mr. Smolin's report that we can come.
Mr. Robertson, maybe we can have questions before we go over his report, Mr.
Sure.
Smolin's report, if you don't
Sure,
mind.
I only had one more slide, and I was just mentioning that this is a placeholder. We can go back to this
Okay.
slide. Yeah, I was just mentioning that this has the three standards that he highlighted that are applicable, as well as information about compatibility with the district. So we'll let you guys bring that up in a second. I'll just go to my last slide. I'll try to go to the last slide. Okay. So this one, I just did want to address this part of the report, of Mr. Smolin's report, because he asked for some testimony to clarify a few things, so I'll bring those up ahead of time. One was the terrace door. I labeled it as a French door, so my apologies if that's an inaccurate categorization. It's a fully glazed single-leaf door. I thought that could also be called a French door, but if not, that's fine. That's what it's intended to be, a single-leaf. Asked for clarification about the coping at the existing. Here's a photo of the existing parapet. It's really just kind of gummed up with tar and other waterproofing materials, and I believe underneath all that is a metal drip edge. And what we're proposing is a twice weathered coping profile like this with simple clean lines that you would see right here with a drip edge both sides of this wall, which is serving as the fall protection. And the last thing I wanted to bring out about Mr. Smolin's report was talking about the historical significance of this existing stone veneer that's there. I did a little digging in Google Street View, because right now what's there is painted. It's not really the original 1950s stone. It's been painted, and I was curious when that happened. And if you go back in time in Google Street View, you can see it happened after October of 2016, which the photos reveal was the same time that Watchung Deli replaced their signage and replaced an awning from a blue one to a black one. So I think it was just part of a refresh the deli must have done. And I only mention that for your consideration when we're talking about how much to preserve that stone.
What had been there prior to that stone?
Say again?
What had been there prior to that stone when you went back on Google Maps?
Oh, prior to the stone, Google wouldn't have been there. That stone has been there since the 50s, so. But
you're saying they painted the
finish.
stone?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
It was original, unpainted, up until 2016, between 2016 and 2018. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I was confused about this because the photographs that are included are Watchung Deli, but now it's actually the restaurant.
Yeah. It's, where does it say, Watchung Deli?
Well,
Which
we
photos?
have photographs. It's a pictures are from, so I had to go back because I knew Watchung Deli wasn't there anymore to figure it out. And I just found it, it's the restaurant. It's
Yeah.
Basil. or-
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's photos from Janice's report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then it also references the townhouse liquors before it got its redo too, remake over, so.
Yeah,
So what we're looking at, Commissioners, I just want you to be aware of it. It's not, right, it's not, the back, I think, is up to date, but not the front. Maybe I have something different?
Janice's has the right pictures. I think the photographs you're looking at are from Stephen's.
Yep, that's right. Janice's has,
So I have this one. Oh, this is Stevens, okay. Sorry,
yeah,
I
it's the
just,
property survey form from.
okay. I just wanted to, somehow I don't have Janice's.
So the
Okay.
photo you're looking at is from, according to this report, is from 9/20 of 2012.
Do you have one? May I? Okay. Oh, no, wait, here, I have it. Here it is, it's over here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And that same photo, Ms. Bennett,
This is- okay.
shows the stone unpainted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
This is the current, and this is the old. All right, does that conclude your testimony then?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll open it up for questions from the commissioners. Mr. Mixer, do you want to go first?
Sure, I don't actually have any questions, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Floyd?
Neither do I.
Mr. Giuliano?
Yes.
For the living room and the dining room, I mean, this is probably just my curiosity. It's not necessarily my purview for reviewing it, but are you meeting light and air with those skylights requirements for those two rooms? I don't know if the skylights are like motorized or somehow operable for air.
Yeah, we will have to dig into that a little more.
Yeah, I'd hate to see you get far into it and then the building inspector flags it, so.
Right, okay.
Just something to look at.
Noted, thank you.
And then for the front facade view here, my only question was if you thought at all about just kind of continuing the same roof pitch that's on the other building across the front here. To me, that was just the first thing I noticed, is that they're both
You
kind
see that
of
they're kind of, yeah.
kinked. I mean, I like that the other one is set back, so it kind of breaks the continuity, but it might look a little more consistent from the streetscape if they kind of just have the same slope across.
Yeah, I think we could achieve that. I'm sure we could achieve that. I'm just looking, this is such a diagrammatic section, and I know I left room for a soldier course and
Yeah.
a soffit, but I'm almost certain we could keep this point and just, yeah, I'm not sure how that ended up like that, but yeah, we could make, certainly, that's not a big deal.
Okay, yeah, those are my only questions.
Mhm.
Mr. Reed?
No question.
I have a question. So the parapet would, in the front, would be higher, and would the side band still be at the same place that it is now? Will the sign band still be in the same location, which looks as though the parapet raises and then
Right.
those lights go on?
Yeah, that's right. There's the old parapet height right there, and now it's up, I wish I could tell you exactly how much, but I would guess 2.5 feet higher, and the sign is just slightly raised up. I think it existing like almost touches the awning, and I just pulled it up a little bit just because I thought it looked better. So it's very slightly relocated.
So it'd be a different sign. You'd have to come back for signage, I guess.
I don't think so. It's just a relocation of the sign, and the ordinance, you only need a variance if it's higher than 12 feet or above this next floor height, and we would be below the floor height. I made sure of that. so
Okay,
that-
so, but it's the same existing sign?
Exactly.
Okay, you're just moving it?
Yep.
Okay, and is it the same awning as well?
It's the same awning, yep, at the front, and the rear would be to match. A new one in the rear.
Okay, so the awning, is it the same projection as the wine store, the liquor store? It's a little higher, I guess.
I'm not sure.
I guess you're looking not to make it look like one facade. You're sort of mixing it up a little bit, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the projection is at the wine store, but I know I measured 4 feet at the restaurant. So this projects 4 feet. Do I have a?
But that's not going to change.
That's not going to change, yeah.
Okay.
Except for new letters on the flat part of the awning.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you. Mr. Graham?
The stone cladding on the front facade, so the plan is to remove that?
Yeah.
Is there brick underneath there existing?
It would be masonry, probably block or cinder. I'm not sure what they would have done when this was built, but some sort of masonry.
So when this was built in the 50s, this was built in the 50s or 60s, this building, or when's it from? Do you recall?
Yeah, I thought it was earlier.
Oh, it's from the 20s. I thought it was so too, from the 20s?
Yeah.
So it was built in the 20s, they wouldn't have used brick back then?
Well, we don't know I think Mr. Smollen's report indicated he didn't think the stone was the original finish. So there may have been brick at one time, but in the 50s, they put this thin stone veneer on wire lath. We don't know what was there before.
Yeah, because I guess my only thought is replacing it with brick. I think that's a good choice, but if there's original brick under there, perhaps removing the stone would expose the original.
Oh, I see what you mean.
See what I'm saying?
I see. Yeah. Yeah. And if that's the case and it's there, then we would just have to try to match. The benefit of this is we had to raise the parapet, so now we can have a consistent finish all the way down.
Right, and up top, I mean, I think, perhaps that would go nicely with the original brick. You distinguish the original building from the new portion that you're adding up top.
Sure.
So that was my only question.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I did, when I looked back at the Google Street View and saw the date that it wasn't painted, I was curious to see if it was damaged and chipping and they were trying to hide it cosmetically with paint, and it didn't look that way to me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the stone finish seems like it's in okay shape, but I don't know what's behind it.
Yeah, because that in itself seems like a historic element, but then if there's brick underneath it, perhaps that's more historic. So I think that should be a consideration, what's underneath that stone cladding.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smollen, would you go over your report, please?
Sure. Just to stay on that point for a sec, I think the existing facade fronting Watchung is a variety of garden state brick face, as it's colloquially referred to. Have you done any exploratory demo to see if there is like lath over brick behind?
No, haven't, but a good spot to do that would maybe be whatever this grill
Around the
is.
back,
We could
yeah.
probably take off the grill and take a good look.
9 times out of 10, that's going to be applied with a wire lath that they just have like impaling nails through, and they're not following the mortar joints or anything, so much of the underlying brick is probably destroyed.
Yeah.
And it's also incredibly difficult, if not impossible, whatever that looks like, whatever condition it's in after being hidden for 50, 60 years, to match that or put any type of brick above it that anyone would be happy about seeing. So, long story short, I think what you're doing with the alterations to the existing lower facade, material speaking, is appropriate. We're in the Watchung Plaza Historic District. That district's period of significance ended in 1962. That's the delineated end. I believe much of the alterations and kind of partial demolition that's being done on the backside is from a structure that was added about 40 years ago in 1986. So we're not disturbing the historic fabric here really with this proposal. I think, as my report says, it's the addition going on the existing roof is, I think, visually subordinate to the existing, just marginally. It's not, I don't think, overpowering the existing building, especially in the context of a predominantly 2 to 3 story historic district. I think overall it's consistent with that surrounding context. I think the addition is adequately differentiated from the old, so you'll understand in the future that there's an existing or a historic lower portion of the building, and then something was added later. The use of stucco, brick, all completely appropriate and found throughout the historic district, so I think that's a good choice. And only question I think I would have would just be what type of stone is being used for that coping that you showed the profile of. Is it like a domestic granite or some, bizarre stone from overseas?
I was thinking a cast stone, but
Okay.
yeah.
So something that doesn't call much attention to itself.
Uniform in color and profile.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll open it up for discussion now. We'll go back to you, Mr. Mixer.
No comments for me.
Ms. Floyd?
No, I don't have any either. It's pretty straightforward.
Are you in agreement with the proposed?
I am in agreement with it. I would be curious as to what's underneath the, but that's besides that, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Giuliano?
I don't have many additional comments. I think you've made a good choice to set back the second floor addition. It keeps it consistent with the existing fabric, and not making it look like this 2-story thing got dropped into the block that already has all of its existing buildings. I think the material choices make sense. If there is brick below there, it'd be great to just use that instead of buying new brick to mimic old brick that might be in fine condition. But other than that, I'm fairly supportive, so.
Where is the apartment? I know you mentioned it, door. Is it in the front or in the back?
It's the back.
It is
the
the
white
back.
door, if you remember.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought. All right, that's just verifying.
Mr. Rooney?
I don't really have any comments. I think it pretty much just disappears. Once it's there, you don't realize. I was there on the board when we approved the first building, and I never see it when I go by. So.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
Yeah, I think it's an improvement to what's there existing. Just if the brick is potentially salvageable, I think that would just be the one consideration. But in general, I think you've done a fine job here, and I'm supportive.
And I am as well. I think it fits very nicely with the building next door, the liquor company, and liquor store, and the other one. You have a railing across the front on the liquor store. Is that on your here?
Yeah.
Is that on the? Is that actually existing now?
Yeah.
Or is it on the side? Okay.
Yeah, so the
Because there's
brick-
2 different pictures. I didn't know if you were removing that or not. Okay.
Oh, no, yeah, that is the other building we did 10 years ago, and this brick does not go up to the height that you need for the railing, so it's just a little 1-foot metal railing to cover that. And I think it was to preserve, you don't see it here, but I think there was some detailing, like a triangular shape. The brick steps up and does some things there. I think that was to try to not change
And
that.
as far as the trash enclosure goes, is that go on behind the UPS store? Is that going to be untreated natural wood, or is that painted?
Cedar.
Oh, it's cedar?
Cedar, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And I think this blends very nicely with the district, so. All right. So I think we have, just the recommendations are just to review the.
Yeah, so to match the pitch of the adjacent building, if possible, to examine the condition of the brick underneath, which we're not super hopeful about, but if it's salvageable, to look into options for that. And then generally supportive comments about the design, the setback, the materials used,
All right, and if the sign is, we don't have to, we won't see them back for sign, and there's no signage in the back that you're proposing?
There is, like, the new awning, we want to put 117A to give it a different address, so that's a little bit of signage, I guess, it's technically.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's easily done.
Is there public parking in the rear, or is that all for the owners?
That's
of the-
public back there.
There
You
is,
can get
right?
yeah.
Okay.
And that little, so that, where the car is now,
Yes.
there's sort of a ramp?
Yeah, there's a difference in height between the sidewalk here and the rear, so that there's just this ramp that goes right to the threshold that is pre-existing.
But that's all for, is that a double door underneath?
Yeah, it's like a
For the
door and a
restaurant?
half. Yeah, it's kind of like a door
It's
and
for
a
the
half.
restaurant?
Right.
So that ramp is existing, it stays,
Yeah.
and they need it for deliveries for the restaurant?
Yeah, they take
Okay.
their dollies with
Okay.
vegetables.
All right, then I think it looks great.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Where's this? Hello. Okay, our next application is a zoning board referral. It is application 2922 at 153 Montclair Avenue. And we are reviewing this because it is located in the Christopher Street Potential Historic District. However, the property has not been individually surveyed and thus not subject to the total demolition ordinance. We are providing an advisory review of the variance application for the replacement garage. But what you're proposing to do is actually demolish the existing garage, existing one-car garage, and replace it with a two-car garage. No changes to the principal structure, and the existing garage has a side yard setback of 2.3 feet. The replacement garage will decrease the level of nonconformity with a side yard setback of 3 feet. So it's a little bit larger. Okay.
That's correct.
Hi, so can you please raise your hand, and Ms. Bauer will swear you in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide tonight on this application to be the
I do.
state and spell your name?
Courtney Rombo, Courtney Romboughh.
Thank you, Ms. Rumbo. So please walk us through what you propose to do.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. At the top of your first sheet, there's a site plan. And you'll see that the current garage is 2.3 feet from the side yard setback. And we're proposing to rebuild the garage as a two-car garage, 3 feet from the side yard setback. The garage stays in the same location as it currently is. It stays in the same style with single doors and the same wood. Can zoom in here, right? The current garage down here has a hip roof, and the new garage will have a gable roof. This isn't the latest file, is it, that I sent today? Oh, is this one? Oh, good. Yeah, I think so. All right, I added a few more images for the clarification. I saw in one of the recommendations in the report, Mr. Smollen's report, that the possibility of keeping the hip roof, which I personally would like to do, my client would like to match the gable roof on the front of the house, which is the colonial revival style. For the doors, I saw there was a comment about the proposed Z braces being basically in the wrong direction. So I did a new rendering here showing what's recommended with the compression for the Z braces, which looks better. There was a note about double sliding glass door on the door schedule. That was incorrect. That was from a previous version. The windows will be Marvin casement windows to match the style of the existing windows. The siding, window trim, and corner boards will match the existing garage. And we didn't have the corner boards showed in the rendering, but I did add them down here to these elevations, so we're showing it now.
Sorry, can you just repeat that? What was that showing?
Let me go back to that. We weren't showing the corner boards on your plans, and we're showing them now in this
Thank you.
drawing. The roof of the new garage will be asphalt to match the existing house, gray roof. And the gutters, fascia, soffit will all match the existing house. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. I have a question about, because I think the hip roof versus the gable roof, and you said you testified that the client wants to keep the gable roof. Is that entryway, that the primary entryway? I'm looking at this picture. Is that original to the house? That
I think
that
so.
gable? It's a different pitch than the ones at the on the gables in the roof.
I can't say I know for sure, but
Okay.
I think so.
All right. Thank you. We'll begin with questions then. Mr. Mixer, do you have any questions?
I have a question maybe for Mr. Smollen, who might know this. Is it typical just from the perspective of like the hip roof style for these garages of that period, and that was just what was done? And meaning like the neighbor I can see has the same garage style roof, but it clearly doesn't match the house, but is that typical for this type of property?
Yeah, I think so. If you look at the historic map from 1933 on the second page of my report, every single
It has that
rear
little-
yard garage has a hipped roof in that picture, like all
Yeah.
40 of them.
Yeah. I just found that interesting because I don't, again, thinking about those as two separate styles on the same piece, but that's part of perhaps its significance in history too, where it looked like that. But that's the only question I really had. Thank you.
Ms. Floyd?
I don't have any questions as of right now.
Okay. Mr. Giuliano?
I have none.
Mr. Rooney?
No questions at the moment.
And Mr. Graham?
How does the current garage open?
The doors, they open like French doors.
They open like
The
French
current-
doors? That's where
yeah.
those hinges come in on the current door? Are those original, those hinges, to the current garage?
Yes.
Is that salvageable? Is that something you could add to the new design? A callback to the original?
That'd be really nice. That's a good idea.
Okay, that was, that plus the hip roof were my only two thoughts. Thank you.
my question has to do with the garage doors and the windows. The original has 3 rows, and on your garage, you have 2. There's more glass on the
Yeah,
on
I
the
see what you're
original
saying.
as opposed to the. Is that something that?
I would be open to matching that. Looks
Okay.
nice.
Generally a little harder to get on new garage doors because the seam for where they go up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was
seam
thinking.
Below the glass. The old ones, they swing.
Oh,
out,
so
there's
these
no-
are. Oh,
They're normal garage doors that match the style.
okay.
Yeah,
All right. So with a.
the more glass is nicer, but typically you see a real outswing carriage.
So it's not like a garage that would be one piece going up, it would be the
In pieces.
pieces, okay.
And that's not it's not doable to have.
You'd have to do an extra row
Mhm.
of glass.
Yeah, they'd have to do the door would probably be in 2 seams, like one joint in the middle and it would come up, but it's just less common because then you have a harder turn radius for it to get up onto the overhead rack.
Mm-hmm.
The more segments it's in, the easier it is for it to lift up without having a huge curve in the overhead track.
Well, that was something I thought made it look more character of the period.
I do agree. It looks much nicer.
So, Mr. Smolin, would you go over your report then, please?
Sure. So we are here in the Christopher Street area, potential historic district. I believe the garage we're talking about was built in 1912, and it is, like many garage structures we see, like a simplified version of the main house in style. We talked about the map from 1933 already. I think overall, when you look at the historic integrity of the existing garage structure, it's in the medium to high category based on its location, its design, setting. The workmanship, like many garage structures, is average, I would say, not incredibly difficult to replicate. And it's not obviously associated with any prominent historic figures, so that's also low. We discussed and confirmed for the proposed replacement that corner boards will be used, and will the exposure and reveal of the siding and what's proposed be very similar to what's there today?
I'll make sure it matches.
Okay. I mean, much of the discussion I think you'll have will center around the demolition of the structure, which we're in kind of a different scenario, different world than we were 2 applications ago, given that the property hasn't been surveyed. However, I think what's being proposed, similar to the application from 2 or 3 ago, is one that wouldn't call attention to itself. So what's being proposed for this red-colored two-door garage in the rear yard, set back so far from the street, doesn't call attention to itself, and I don't think would substantially impact the integrity of the overall district.
Thank you. And we'll start with discussion then.
Nothing for me, thank you.
So, I just feel the doors feel very modern in its style. To Kathleen's point earlier, I loved the, the 6 panes, and I understand that we can't do it, but my only thing would be if there was anything that you could potentially add character, styles, windows to the garage door, really, that would be my only thing, is it just feels very...
Does anyone know if they do have modern doors that swing out like that are...
They do, they're just impractical for a lot of people. They don't
Yeah.
want them, they don't
Gate-
want to have a swinging
Gate-wise.
door out when they're trying to park their car in.
But you
Yeah.
could still get a clicker to open them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But I was also saying, even with just the windows that you have, maybe a different type of pane, that has, I don't know,
I'll look into it.
yeah, that would be my
Maybe-
only thing. Just
maybe
something
2
a little
levels.
2 levels, or even, an additional, the windows that you have, maybe an additional, what's it called?
Muntin?
Thank you. Yes, remember. Yeah, that would be it, though. Nice job.
I'll look into that. It's a good
Thank
idea.
you. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a pretty strong design. Again, I mean, I'm in favor of the hip as well, but, I don't think there's not precedent for a gable from the main house. The existing hip roof has some really nice exposed rafter tail details on it. It'd be great to replicate that in the underside of the roof here. Other than that, corner boards, I think the rest of it, I think the doors, you can select something that looks like a carriage-style door. They have fake hardware on them. It looks like it would swing out, but if it's overhead, when it's closed, it just looks like a regular old-style door. So overall, I think it's a strong design. I don't have any problem with demolition of the existing garage.
thank you. Mr. Rooney?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good design. I like the idea of some of the, maybe doing the exposed rafters and I like the hipped roof on the front, so.
Mr. Graham?
Yeah, considering our more limited purview here, I would just say that I agree with my colleagues, and I would say, in general, I think I think I would be supportive of this design, given some of the suggestions, the comments.
Yeah, I've got about 4 of them.
Yeah.
But I have one question that we didn't ask before. Is there anything in the gable, the front of the gable, any lighting that you're considering?
The lighting's on the side.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. You see on the first page.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is that going to interfere with your corner board?
It might. Yeah, maybe we'll put sconces, exterior sconces, one above each.
I didn't hear you.
Maybe we'll put exterior sconces, one above each door.
Right. On the, I think you might have to consider that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it would be more practical, too. And what about the hinges? Those existing hinges? Is that too much of a play for, to make it look old-fashioned?
I like old-fashioned.
I'm thinking we could reuse them somewhere, if not the garage, in some part of the house. Or I like the idea of keeping the hinges.
Yes, you don't have enough for two doors, but you have to, maybe somewhere, yeah, you're right.
I'll take them home with me and do something.
Okay, but I'm in favor. I think the hip roof would be much more, I just think it would look better, because it is in character with most of the garages.
I'll push for it.
Okay. All right, good, thank you. So we've got a few here, recommendations.
Yes, so I have exploring if the existing hinges could be preserved, either with the new doors or somewhere else. Exploring if there is a possibility to add more glass to the door while still having it function as an overhead. Potentially adding fake hardware to make it look like a carriage door. Removing or replacing the existing lighting with exterior sconces so as not to interfere with the corner board. And that's all I have. Is that it?
Yeah, and the corner boards.
Yes.
Reinstall the corner boards. Okay, so that's what I have too. It's
Okay.
5, I think?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. And good night. Good luck and good night. Well, there being no further applications or discussion. It's 10:15. I think we could have a motion to adjourn, unless there's any other thing to discuss? No? Okay, so, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
You jumped on that.
Second.
Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, see everybody back in March.